Hello, everybody. Adam Parks here with another episode of Receivables Roundtable. Today, I'm good here with my friend Greg from Williams Fudge. Greg, can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and how you got to the seat that you're in today?
Absolutely. And Adam, I'm very thankful for you to have me on. We spoke about this in Vegas a few months ago. Here we are. So how did I get to this seat? I like my story, and I only say that because it's a story that a lot of people do emulate or can or should emulate. So it's nothing special. But prior to being in this seat, 12 years ago, I had zero experience in working in the industry. And I'm thankful enough to say that I had zero experience in, well, debt collection in general, right? I was in the restaurant world, working my way up, management, bar, all kinds of different places, right? And getting into management, right? So you're working 60 hours, 70 hours, nights, weekends. And if you break down that pay, you might as well have made me your dishwasher, right? So after a while, that kind of gets old. And I'm very thankful that I had one really good friend who was in this industry at the agency I'm currently at, who just kind of painted a picture for me, who said, this is the hours I work, here's the kind of money I make, and here's the general task that I do. And I didn't know that that was a possibility. Oh, and he also told me that you don't need the college degree that says you can do the job. And basically, in general, you really don't need experience to get into the industry. So it was nothing more, Adam, than me for a couple of years trying to find a way to get out of that restaurant lifestyle and industry. I just really ended up taking a leap of faith. And it took a few months as I started out. So I got on the phones, listened to training, learned the job. I got through some of those rough patches. And then a few months into the job, I saw the money. I didn't see it the first 3-4 months, but then I saw the money and there was no looking back. I spent about 2.5+ years on the phone. I never came into the industry thinking that I wanted to be a desk agent collector forever. But about 2-3 years in it, I was able to work into a team lead kind of management position, started building up collectors below me, kind of to realize that, hey, I got this niche that I kind of enjoy teaching people how to make money. It's really how you put your head around it. Like, what do you do for a living? I help people go from not making a lot of money to learning how to make a good living. And that's kind of where the passion came from. So I did the team lead stuff for a while and then eventually grew into where I'm at today, director of training, creating content, teaching, presenting, teaching adults how to be adults and how to bring home money to their family. And I get a big kick out of that.
Totally understood. And there's nothing quite like learning a business from the ground up. I was never a collector, but I did collector training with one of my favorite agencies in Minneapolis. And they actually sat me down. I came in, in a different role, but they sat me down and were like, you're not ever going to be good at this unless you're going to sit down and learn how to be a collector.
Right.
So I sat there and made the phone calls and and actually did the work. And I'm really glad that I did because it changed my perspective on everything. So now all that happens. Now you're with Williams Fudge and you're the director of training. Tell me a little bit about Williams Fudge and what you guys do there.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are in the bustling town of Rock Hill, South Carolina. And before you look on a map, I'll just help you out. Charlotte, North Carolina is well known at this time and age. We're directly below Charlotte, right across the border, basically a giant suburb of Charlotte. But Rock Hill, South Carolina, we've been in business since 1986, all in Rock Hill. We're a singular location. We specialize in the higher education receivables. Our main clients are the actual university, so we're not working on DOE contracts or government contracts, but our clientele, the core of it is the college, university, the campus. We've been doing that since 1986, clients in all 50 states. In the last couple of years, we have started to diversify a little bit into some other financial receivables, telecommunications, personal lines of credit, credit cards, things like that, and expanding, but the core of it is still to today traditional higher education. So we're in a big, beautiful, historic building in the downtown center of Rock Hill, and we have approximately 300 current collectors to this day. And of course, in the last 2 years, that has drastically shifted with, I think we have collectors in 5 different states now, 40 some people working out of state, and close to 50% of our staff probably working remote somewhere, and we're getting along just fine.
Okay. Very interesting, and kind of brings me to our topic for today. You know, one of the things that you and I have talked about at various conferences or when I've seen you speaking at Collector Live or other places is recruitment and training, right? So recruitment, training, retention.
Yeah.
And I know that's something that you live and breathe every day. And it's something that every agency out there, every receivables management firm, and really a whole lot of the country and other industries and businesses are all facing today. So what's that like for you guys, right? Like you're mostly singularly located, but you've got these remote positions. So I
Yeah.
guess my first question is, you know, what are you doing today to bring new talent to the table?
Well, the strategy to bringing the talent or finding the talent is ever evolving. I don't think anyone really sits in a place where they're like, we have our systems and we hit play and we go. We're constantly facing that challenge. One of the things we've done recently, or I say recently, like the last year plus, coming out of this pandemic, is I mentioned a while ago that this agency does not do a Department of Education contract. But if you follow the news at all, you know, in the last 2 years, those agencies that collect on those contracts have unfortunately been put in a tough spot, right? A lot of what's been going on with COVID regulations and outreach to consumers, I guess, to help them, federal student loan payments have been on pause. So what happens to those agencies? They've had a lot of difficulty. So we've actually been able to source for the first time in our history, right? So we're talking about doing stuff differently. Prior to 2 years ago, we never really had to look outside the general community here, right? But then you catch wind of certain agencies in the Atlanta area and Texas, up in Ohio, that were working DOE contracts. And unfortunately, they really aren't able to keep their staff occupied with enough work. So we make friendly outreach. We see that you have a tenured collector who really knows the business. And we're slowly but surely making it work and bringing that employee in because they went from being underworked or being actually out of work. So that's one of the major things that we're doing. And it's not so much taking from competition, but it's looking at areas of opportunity where fellow individuals in this industry are being put out of work through some government regulations in the last 2 years. And we are helping those individuals out. And of course, they're helping us and our clients. So it's a great mutual relationship there. As far as like the local side, you're constantly evolving, going to the job fairs. What kind of marketing schemes can we do? Are we advertising on Facebook? Yes, 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 and yes. But I think to draw a great picture, whether you're attracting someone remotely or someone in that community, Adam, one of the things that I believe that we do a really good job at is we allow for the opportunity to really make a good decision with the individual by, we just call it a networking event. And whether you're doing it completely remotely on Zoom with people local and in other states, or today's a great example. Today, we spent an hour and 15 minutes. We were targeting bringing in a new hire class that was going to be non-tenured, right? We're not looking in Ohio, down in Texas. These are local people that are going to start from the ground floor up, that are going to come into the building to work. So we had 12 people come in, right? And we invited 12 people. So today we had a major win. For the first time, I think ever, we had 100% attendance, which is huge because we've had some.
That's big.
There's been some where you invite 20 and 8 show up, and that's kind of deflating. But here's the whole crux of it. You bring these individuals in, Zoom, in person, it doesn't matter the number. And you literally, what we call is you lift up the rug, right? Because if you lift up the rug underneath, you're going to see the dirt, right? You have guests coming over, you shove things in closets, you shove it under the couch, you clean up real quick and say, look at my nice clean house.
Sure.
And what happens is you're going, if you do that, you're going to attract an employee under false pretenses, and they're going to come and work for you and very quickly see a lot of not so nice surprises, or the truth's going to come down on them, and the odds of them turning over are just going to increase, right? So the whole goal of the network event is we literally verbatim tell them, I want you to ask every single question you can possibly think of. Don't be shy. Don't hold back. We're going to tell you a bunch of stuff and be very candid, because as much as we are interviewing you, I need you to interview us, because if we make this decision, I want to increase our odds where there's no surprises. And if you come in on day one, we at least know we're starting off in a much better position than you just need a job and a paycheck, and you hope it works out for you. You have a very, very clear picture about what you're stepping into.
I do very much the same thing when I'm hiring as well. There's no point in there being any surprises. It's better off to just tell everybody who we are, what we do. Yes, we have a marketing company. Yes, we work for the debt collection industry. Yes, we only work for the debt collection industry? Are you prepared to tell your friends that I write content for, the debt collection industry? And I say it over and over and over again during these interviews, whether it be a meeting or I take them to lunch or whatever. But if otherwise, I'm wasting a whole bunch of time and my energy and my efforts to bring somebody up to speed who's never going to stick around. And that's not fair for anybody involved. So, when we talk about the recruitment piece now, let's talk a little bit about the training, because you've got people in remote locations and you're going through the training process. And having added, roughly 70% of my staff after COVID and in a remote format, I'm familiar with this particular problem, although I wasn't directly collecting debt with those new hires. So tell me a little bit about what that process looks like and feels like, or maybe provide the audience with some advice on how they might look at solving that unique problem.
Absolutely. And I think today's day and age, you've got to get someone to see the money as fast as possible. When I look back 12 years ago, when I first sat down at the phone, when I told you it took me 6 months to really see that first month where it was like, oh, I'm actually at the level I was at when I was a restaurant manager. For 5 or so months, I was taking a pay cut. And that was normal. That wasn't me doing anything wrong. That was just the way the system worked and just the regular times. But when I hit that 6th month, it was like gangbusters. Now game on, I'm sold, I'm in the industry. But I'm thankful back then I had good mentors, people in my ear telling me, like, don't give up, stick with it. And if it wasn't for them, I might have turned left and gone back to the restaurant world and been an absolute miserable soul today. But the whole point, Adam, is how do you get someone to see the money quicker? And there's a whole segment we can go into with providing your staff with actual good collection tools, updated tools, a lot of the new software and technology. But when you're onboarding somebody, we got to make that a very smooth process. I got to capture your attention that first week, that first month, to let you see that there is money to be made here. You can learn this stuff very quickly. So some of the things we've done is, especially if real quick on a tangent on the remote side of things, right? Is I don't offer this person a job and tell them, here's a Zoom link, join this Zoom link on day one, right? We start on this Monday at 8 o'clock, join this Zoom link. There's a whole process happening about a week and a half to 2 weeks before that. Okay. In a remote sense, our IT, my department, HR department, we're putting together these really beautiful boxes and we're shipping them out to them. Our full equipment, right? They're not buying any equipment. Hopefully these are the standard things. We're giving them every piece of equipment they need. We're soliciting from them what your internet speed is. We're making sure we're providing them, what do you need? 25, 50, 100 feet of cabling, the whole line. We're making sure that they have a turnkey operation. And once they get that box, before they ever start day one, they're on the phone with our IT department, helping them plug it in, getting it dialed in. We're getting on the Zoom camera. We're logging into the network. Here's all your passwords. Every single thing is working several days before the actual day one. So when day one starts, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. I turn on my Zoom camera. There you are. We say hi. Onboarding starts. Super, super smooth.
Interesting.
And then from there, it's what are you going to do the job with? What kind of tools are you using? What's your phone system? What's your CRM? What kind of cool tools do you have to help you click the buttons and work through the consumer accounts? One other thing that's really been super beneficial, specifically in the last 2 years, if you rewind prior to 2 years ago in this agency, everything's in-house, everyone's working in the building. All my classes are in person. I'm not really recording anything. I'm not making a lot of video content. So if I'm putting on the coolest class ever and you happen to be out of office that day, you missed the class. Or if you're on a phone call with a consumer taking a huge payment, I don't want you to hang up that phone and come up to the class, stay on the phone. So of course, when everyone home about 2 years ago, all of our content should have changed. So I got provided the tools. I learned the skill sets very quickly to become what I do a lot now is video content production, editing. So all of our classes now, we record them, we edit them, we jazz them up, and we've made an incredible library content in our learning management system. So whether you're in person or remote, you have a wealth of knowledge that is being built out that you have access to. So you can learn even if I'm not able to be in a class with you right now. So the learning availability is always there. And that could be how to use the new system, how to negotiate, whatever the case is I can still teach you even if I can't physically be present with you or even be on camera with you. I have lots of content I can provide to you. And that doesn't happen overnight. we've been building it,
Of course.
and it's almost getting to a point where it's like, I need to go back in time and start deleting stuff because it's just too much stuff now.
Well, and creating a library of content is king, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
we use Receivables Roundtable as an opportunity to introduce people into the industry, not necessarily collectors. But I talk to a lot of new people that enter the industry, whether it be in a sales role, an executive role, even an operations or an IT role, and they go, I don't really know a lot about this business. And I say, well, I got about 80 episodes of a podcast that you should go watch and listen to. Right. And having that library of content for them gives them historical context, helps them understand how we interact with each other. Right. Now, I think this is the first time you and I are interacting without a beer, but that's okay. Right. Like, we're remote today. I'm not complaining. So
you can't see off camera. I got a whole keg over here.
Is that well, we talked a little bit about, about recruiting. We talked a little bit about training. Let's talk a little bit about retention and the opportunities that come there. In our new day and age during the Great Resignation, or whatever they're calling it, what are you doing that's kind of different and special to retain these people long term? You're showing them money early on, which is a big part of that early stage retention, but I'm going to lump that piece into the training. What other kinds of things are you guys doing over there from a retention standpoint?
It's funny, Adam, because it's always the concept of what have you done for me lately? And we can 100%. Do some huge event for the staff a month ago, and you would think we were the worst people ever because it was a month ago and it all got forgotten, right? So you're constantly thinking like, how do I massage the staff? I mean, money is great and it usually makes the world go round and it usually keeps people around at least for a while. But at other points in time, you need a little bit extra. So kind of work both sides of the aisle, right? The remote folks. So we have long distance remote, we have local remote, and then of course the folks in the office, right? So how do you juggle? There's literally 3 levels of juggling stuff. So prior to the pandemic, we have always been a huge culture-oriented company, always putting on huge events. Family involved, community involved, charity events, all that volunteer stuff. And obviously there's a big pocket of time recently where a lot of that was put on pause, understandably. But in the last 6 or so months, we've kind of we turned the page, and hopefully you have too. So we've really opened the books back up to having events. Just in the last month, we've had 3 huge in-person events, employee luncheons, picnics. They even did a goat, I'm not kidding, goat yoga. People were invited to go walk down the street and do goat yoga.
I want pictures, man.
I have pictures. I showed those pictures to the people that came in today to do networking. Like, hey, guys, it's not all work. You can do goat yoga and whatever.
You can do goat yoga. That's a good sales pitch, man. I like that.
As far as the local remote people, right? Our executive management, within reason, we get in the car, we drive every now and then, once a month. If you're a mentor for us, if you're a part of our VIP list, we're in the car delivering packages to your doorstep. It's just a tiny little outreach thing to show, hey man, thanks, you still care. I know folks in our Atlanta office, folks working remotely in Atlanta, we've had executive staff literally drive down to them and have dinner with them and their family, just as a show of outreach. For those folks that are a little too far away for us to drive to, we're sending them stuff in the mail. If we're doing an employee appreciation cookout, we're sending them a gift card that they can go and purchase a meal, and like the same day we're providing meals for the staff, right? I can't really bring you to the picnic when you're in Texas, but I can send you and your family a gift card. So all kinds of those things. We're doing a lot of obvious team meetings, team-oriented stuff. Some of it has to be on Zoom. I was late to come onto this call with you because down the hallway, we're having a team meeting. And in that team meeting, it's a combination of about 30 people physically in a room. And on 2 different monitors, you have people remotely, local, and remotely out of state, all tied in together, and people are seeing each other in every angle and every corner. So you do that kind of stuff a lot. At the end of the day, I think that's people awesome. Realize that it's just the world we're living in. We've all come to accept it. And here's the thing, Adam, I think for any agency out there, you can come up with these things, these outreach attempts. And sometimes, these things one goes better than the other. Maybe this one was a flop, but that one was a big hit. No matter what, your staff sees it, right? They see the effort. They see that you are trying. So even if ends up being not the best idea, it was still an idea and it was still an effort. Not everything we do is a home run or everybody likes it, right? And there, I think one of the things was like, we're doing this employee appreciation cookout. And I think one person was like, well, what about us remote folks? And you're like, you're right. What about you remote folks in Texas? We'll send you a gift card. Does that work? So you're like, we didn't even think about that until someone, of course, brought that up. Like, well, what about us?
Well, being able to roll with the punches and draw them in to let them feel included with the rest of the team, I think is incredibly important. Yeah. Greg, it sounds like you guys are doing some incredible people management over there at Williams and Fudge. I'm really excited to have the opportunity to chat with you about it. And I really appreciate you coming on and having this discussion with me. For those of you that are watching today, ask us questions. Put your questions down below and LinkedIn on YouTube. Both Greg and I will be responding to those. If you have additional topics that you'd like to see us cover, additional discussions you'd like to see us do, please let us know. We'd be really excited to continue to create content together. I can tell you, I've seen this man speak live a few times, really enjoyed that opportunity and learned a lot from him through those opportunities. But Greg, in the short term, I really appreciate you coming out. I look forward to seeing you at our next event, probably ACA annual conference, something like that. But looking forward to our next discussion.
Adam, you couldn't have said it better. I always appreciate talking to you and like-minded folks trying to make this world go around, and you're full of energy and I love your perspective. So thanks again for having me on.
Awesome. Well, I'll see you again soon. And thank you everybody for watching.